This thing is worth the money, does what it sets out to do, and has the potential to improve in the future. The PlayStation Portal is the most accessible way to play the PlayStation.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Alrighty, I'm pretty sure that intro is gonna tell you everything you need to know about this video and how things are gonna turn out. So recently I did a reaction video to IGN's review of the PlayStation Portal, and the video turned out pretty well. Seems a lot of people liked it, so I decided I'd go ahead and do a follow-up video to another review of the PlayStation Portal where somebody shills for it. And if you thought the previous review was bad where they gave it a higher review score than the Steam Deck, well, I hate to be the one to tell you, but this one is even worse. So, you know, if you enjoy this thing, more power to you, man, but the rest of us just aren't in that same boat as you. Personally, I just cannot see a world where it is worth $200 to drop on a device that can only use remote play when there are devices out there for similar prices where you can do infinitely more and remote play on it. But the video we're going to take a look at today is a guy who says that everyone is wrong that is criticizing the PlayStation Portal and that it is actually worth the money. So sit back, relax, and let's find out why the PlayStation Portal is actually amazing and we're all wrong to be criticizing it.
Everyone's been hating on the PlayStation Portal even before it was released.
The reason everybody is hating on it before it was even released is because it is a straight up fucking scam. I mean, for the same amount of money, you could easily just go get a tablet and do the exact same thing. You could get a backbone. For a little bit more money, you could go ahead and buy the Steam Deck, which you can also remote play on. You could buy a Nintendo Switch. Also, we literally had a PlayStation handheld device 20 years ago that could do infinitely more things than this thing can do. The bar was already set really high, so when you release a shitty product that doesn't live up to its predecessors, of course people are gonna hate on it. And that's not even mentioning the outrageous price that this thing costs. I mean, $200 for a paperweight if you don't even have a PS5 or Wi-Fi on you, that can't even accept agreements to use public Wi-Fi? Dude, $200? That's a fucking ripoff.
But what if I told you that they're all wrong? This thing is worth the money, does what it sets out to do, and has the potential to improve in the future.
Just because something does what it sets out to do doesn't make it good. I mean, it sets out to do below the bare minimum. I mean, if a device came out that set out to hit 360p 30 FPS and it achieved that, does that make it good? No, of course not. I also find it funny how he says it can improve over time. It seems like every single review nowadays where somebody's reviewing something that's bad, it's always, well, it can improve over time. No, improve it and make it worth the money before you put it on the fucking market.
The PlayStation Portal is the most accessible way to play the PlayStation.
How is this any more accessible than just using your Steam Deck with remote play or using your phone or something like that to play your PlayStation? You can't even accept public Wi-Fi agreements where your phone can, so that's a complete fucking lie. Also, the PSP that came out almost 20 years ago was like objectively more accessible. You could play it anywhere, anytime. You didn't need Wi-Fi. You didn't have to worry about input lag, anything like that, and that was 20 years ago.
All you have to do is sign into your PlayStation account, connect to your PS5 like you would typically with remote play, and boom, you're swinging through New York on the small screen. But this thing costs $200, which some people hate.
I don't think it's just some people that hate the fact that this thing costs $200. I'm pretty sure it's pretty much everybody who isn't trying to shill for this thing.
However, that price point makes total sense when you look at the cost of materials.
It makes sense if you're on drugs, but for the rest of us, no, it doesn't make sense. Why would you ever spend $200 on this thing when you could spend $20 and get a backbone?
A DualSense typically sells for $70.
And who's to say we're okay with $70 controllers, dude? I mean, that's overpriced as hell. Personally, I don't even use controllers anymore because of stick drift and stuff like that, where I have to replace them every year. I bought one keyboard about 3 years ago for $120 and it's still going strong.
A 1080p tablet will typically run you about $100, and the cost of labor and assembly is priceless.
Okay, but the thing is, a tablet for $100 can do infinitely more things than a PlayStation Portal can. I mean, you can watch movies and stuff like that on your tablet, whereas you can't on something like the PS Portal. By the way, the tablet is like half the price of the PS Portal.
Now, you're also likely paying for the software at that point, which adds up to the $200 price tag. So if the price makes sense. Why are so many people against this thing?
Because the thing is, the price just does not make sense. You could easily go with a backbone controller for $20, a tablet for $100, or you could get a Nintendo Switch Lite that can run its games natively for near the same price and doesn't require Wi-Fi. And just because the thing was expensive to put together doesn't make it good. I mean, I could make a giant golden shit statue out of gold, but it's still shit. That literally made no sense, but I'm keeping it in the video.
Aside from Sony's graveyard of short-lived non-console devices, many complained about latency issues through remote play.
I don't know about y'all, but one of my least favorite things about gaming is input lag. I mean, I can't stand turning around and then like 2 seconds later my character actually turns around when it's too late and causes him to die. That shit is fucking infuriating. Why would I buy a device that's guaranteed going to have some input lag when I could buy something like the Nintendo Switch or the Steam Deck, which has basically no input delay? I just don't understand it. Also, the PSP 20 years ago had like no input delay.
The inability to use streaming apps like Netflix, and the strangely absent inclusion of Bluetooth. Now, neither the PS5 nor the Xbox Series can also support Bluetooth audio, so this isn't only a Sony problem.
If you were to use your phone or the Steam Deck, then you can use Bluetooth. Also, with the PlayStation and Xbox, you don't really need Bluetooth as badly because you're mainly going to be playing in your own home anyway. However, when you're out and about using a portable device, you kinda want to have Bluetooth so other people don't have to hear your loud-ass game. This is especially the case for the PlayStation Portal, considering even the lowest volume option is still pretty loud and the speakers don't sound that good anyway.
But the biggest issue people have with the Portal is that they think it solves a problem that many don't have, a need to use a device that only uses remote play.
Yeah, I don't really know the point in having a device that can only use remote play when there are tons of other devices out there that can play games natively and can use remote play, and they're not restricted to only doing one of those things.
So many leading up to the launch wondered who would buy this if you could use a backbone that cost half the price, or connect your phone or tablet to a DualSense.
Last time I checked, the backbone is about $20, whereas the PlayStation Portal is $200. That doesn't seem like half to me, that seems like 10% of the price of the PlayStation Portal.
And while these options are viable, imagine this. You have to go to the hospital with your sick child.
What the fuck? Okay.
Have to go to the hospital with your sick child for a week. They're sleeping, you have nothing else to do because you're sitting in the hospital. Now, your family members, your wife, your significant other wants the status update on what's going on with the child as things are happening. So you don't want to take away your phone's ability to actually communicate with your loved ones, but you still want to be able to access your PlayStation games at home to kill the downtime at the hospital. Many caregivers know what I'm talking about. Just because your child's in the hospital doesn't mean you're doing anything. It just means you're there. You just have to be physically present. And that's where the Portal allows me to keep my phone on hand like I am going to have to be at the hospital, but also still enjoy my games without having to bust out an unwieldy tablet setup.
Alright, that was a pretty bad example, and I can't even believe I'm entertaining this, but let me go ahead and respond to this ridiculous statement. First of all, if that hospital has Wi-Fi where you have to sign a public agreement to use that Wi-Fi, you cannot use your PlayStation Portal at all. It is basically a paperweight and you're shit out of luck. So that's already one instance where you just don't want to have the Portal with you. Second of all, you can just use your phone, and if you get a text, a lot of the games that you play on the PlayStation are single player story games. I mean, you even say later in this video that you mainly play story driven like single player games. So if it's not a multiplayer game and you are playing a single player story driven game, can't you just pause the game, reply to the text, and then resume the game when you're done texting whoever it is you need to text or call? Not only that, but if you decide to bring a Steam Deck, Nintendo Switch, maybe you bring a book or something like that with you, or even your smartphone, you don't have to gamble whether or not the public Wi-Fi is going to have an agreement that you won't be able to sign, and you can just use it no matter what. Not only that, but if you were to have a power outage or something back at home, then basically you can't connect to your PlayStation unless you go back home and set everything back up again, whereas with a Steam Deck, Switch, Novel, whatever, you don't have to worry about that. There are just so many other things that you can bring with you where you don't have to basically take a risk on whether it's gonna work or not.
And people hating on this thing don't realize that just because something isn't for them doesn't mean no one should ever use it. So many people like myself want to play their PlayStation games more, but don't want to spend the extra money for a Steam Deck or an ROG Ally or another solution that does still cost a lot of money.
If you were really concerned about money, why would you not just use the backbone controller? I mean, you get the exact same functions as the PlayStation Portal and more. And you don't have to gamble whether the public Wi-Fi will work or not for 10% of the cost of the Portal. Also, for near a similar price, you could get a Nintendo Switch Lite, which can play its games anywhere, anytime, and you never have to worry about where your device will and will not work.
But for $200, you can play on your PS5 without buying an entire Windows handheld to do one thing.
I just don't understand the idea of spending $200 on a device that can only do one thing when there are similar options out there for near a similar price that can do infinitely more things.
If you use a backbone, you have to give up many of the features you otherwise have on the Portal. You lose easy access to your phone and will likely be interrupted anytime you get a text or call. And ergonomically, the grips are flat and small compared to the Portal, and you don't get to experience the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback.
I don't know, but I'll take a device that's 90% cheaper if the only things that I lose are the fact that the controller can vibrate and the fucking haptic triggers or whatever. The fact that my controller can rumble like somebody's vibrator and haptic triggers are not worth $180 extra.
Most other handhelds don't feature great rumble and pale in comparison to the immersion you actually achieve with the DualSense. That is, until this thing came out. Worse yet, you have to cough up $40 a year just to keep access to the Backbone's Game Hub launcher, 1080p 60 recordings, and the ability to use it on PC and iOS devices. Forgoing the Backbone and using just your phone means using Remote Play's touch controls. No one likes touch controls, and you're lying if you say you do.
That's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
You can't just sit down and objectively say that nobody likes touch controls, because if that were the case, mobile games would not be as popular as they are. I mean, I don't like motion controls. A lot of the people I know don't like motion controls, but I can't sit here and objectively say nobody likes motion controls, because there probably are people out there who like motion controls. Same thing goes with touch controls.
But if you do want a dedicated gaming handheld at the same price, you can check out something like the oled. However, you'll have worse ergonomics, a smaller screen, and no DualSense features.
I don't know about y'all, but I'd rather take those 3 small negatives if it means that the device can be played anywhere, anytime, and doesn't require a $500 console to use and have input lag.
Once I got my hands on the Portal, I found
Hold up for just 1 second. I thought you were just taking a shit on the Backbone controller because you had to use touch controls, but here you are using touch controls on your PlayStation Portal.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck.
myself actually excited at how often I get to use this.
But with similar devices like the Switch OLED, the Switch and the Switch Lite, the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, the Legion Go, or whatever the fuck it's called, you don't have to wonder how often you'll get to use it, because you can use it anywhere at any time, unlike the PS Portal.
There's a reason everybody is calling this the Dad Station 5. There are many scenarios where I don't have to be actively parenting my kids, but I still need to be physically present. Take example, last night after I got my Portal, my two older children were doing the dishes. I need to kind of manage and make sure that it's all going according to plan, but I'm not actually helping them with anything. But if I leave, I know that chaos can ensue. So my physical presence, just being there, actually aids with the dishes process going smoothly.
Okay, I'm not sure what kind of chaos can ensue when your two older kids are doing the dishes. Are they gonna be beating each other over the head with spatulas, throwing frying pans at each other, throwing forks at each other, chasing each other around with knives? Like, what's going on, bro? Also, I don't know how busy you are, but you're seriously telling me you don't have enough time in the day to put your PlayStation down for 15 minutes for your children to do the dishes? Either this guy is in love with his PlayStation game, or he is like the busiest man on planet Earth.
Now, normally, I can't play my games while I'm just standing around, and the Portal actually allows me to do that in cases where Presence is needed as a parent, but not attention of mine.
Okay, I definitely understand the point he's trying to get across here, but the thing is, you can already do that with the Backbone controllers, Steam Deck, Nintendo Switch, etc. Or you could just move your PlayStation to a different room with your monitor.
But also sitting in my bed and playing games without going to my living room makes me so happy. I get to play games while my wife watches TV, and I can turn on the console without worrying that I changed the input to the PS5 because Remote Play doesn't switch that over. Now,
Bro, what? Your wife won't even let you play on the PlayStation after a hard day's work? Dude, I feel bad for bro. Let him play his PlayStation, damn. No, but in all seriousness, if I was in your position where I never got to use the TV, I would likely just buy a Steam Deck or something like that where the TV isn't really any concern.
local Wi-Fi had very low latency. There is a bit of latency, but your eyes adjust pretty quickly, and also having the DualSense controller in your hands kind of helps trick your brain into thinking that you are just playing the PS5 and you just adjust to it.
That's not a very good argument, my man. The thing is people don't like input lag, so just telling people to get used to it isn't really gonna help. Also, good luck ever playing a competitive shooter or something like that online, because everyone else is not gonna have input lag, whereas you are.
Now, using a hotspot with a 5G connection introduced some hiccups here and there, but it was still a playable experience overall. However, this will eat up data on your data plan, so just keep that in mind as you're doing it.
And once again, I hate to be a broken record, but the thing is, if you're using a Switch Lite or a Steam Deck or something like that, you never have to worry about having internet connection wherever you go. You can just use it offline, and you don't have to worry about using up your data on your data plan.
The last test we tried out was our Starlink setup, which we also used to stream when we're on the road. It's how we pulled off the Cannonball for the Cure charity stream. And in residential or metropolitan areas, or just areas with a lot of trees, the connection falters more often than on the hotspot, but that's just how Starlink is. But it was perfectly fine while stationary, and it would be perfect while we're driving across the country. You know, you have the person who's the driver, and then your passenger is just playing on the portal. It's actually an incredible setup. And we tested this all while we were live streaming too, so it seems pretty impressive.
This would have been impressive 20 years ago, but let's compare it to the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck, you can play all your PC games natively. Any game you own on your PC, you can play natively. You can use cloud save, so basically, you can play a game on your PC, pick up your Steam Deck, go for a drive, play a game, and then when you get home, upload your data to the cloud and continue on your PC where you left off. Whereas with the PS Portal, you can still play your PlayStation games and save your data and stuff, but you have to have an internet connection.
Now, you still get speakers, though they can get very loud. Audio quality is pretty standard for a device like this, but I'd recommend getting a pair of headphones if you plan to use this in public or around others, because even the quietest mode on this is still too loud sometimes.
And see, the problem with that is there's no Bluetooth on the device, so you're going to have to use a wired headset, which it really sucks, man, because Bluetooth will have really helped out with a device like this. And if you're on your phone or Steam Deck, you can use Bluetooth. Now, to be fair to the Portal, they are trying to release some Bluetooth devices that you can use to play your audio through, but the thing is, they have to be the Sony-approved ones that are overpriced as fuck.
I also don't like that there is no percentage bar for the battery indicator. You get 3 bars like a regular controller on the PS5, but it's not enough for me to know how much battery I actually have left in this.
Which, once again, if you were to use your phone or the Steam Deck, and I think the Nintendo Switch, I'm not sure if that has percentages or not, you'd be able to see how much percentage you have left of your battery. It seems like a really standard feature. I'm surprised they'd leave something like this out.
But the most egregious miss is honestly the lack of Bluetooth. I know you can plug into the headphone jack, which also allows for 3D audio where compatible, but Sony definitely just dropped the ball here. It's even worse since we have to wait for Sony's PlayStation Link audio devices to be released sometime in December or later. We tried using a pair of headphones with a USB dongle, but that still didn't work.
For me, that alone would make the device not worth it. Like, if you can't use a pair of headphones with it, that's a huge problem, dude.
Now, I love the Portal for some very specific reasons. I have a history on this channel of seeking out the best bed gaming setup. I have tried to find ways that I can enjoy my video games while my wife watches TVs, which leads me to have a plethora of devices that I get to check out thanks to having this YouTube channel.
That does look like a pretty comfy setup, not gonna lie, but if this is the case and you do get to check out all of these different devices, then how come you're still trying to defend this thing? I mean, you know there are better options out there as you've literally reviewed them on your channel. Like, if you yourself know how many great options there are out there for portable gaming, why would you ever make a video defending the PS Portal?
And I can tell you that after having so many different things, the Portal scratches an itch that I've had that none of these other devices can satisfy. Yes, you can use other apps like Chiaki in order to use remote play, but you have to do weird workarounds for the audio in order to get them to work properly.
But the PS Portal doesn't work in a lot of cases where a lot of these other devices would work. I mean, once again, let's talk about the public Wi-Fi and signing agreements. On all these other devices, I'm pretty sure you can sign public Wi-Fi agreements, so you can use your device. Whereas with the PlayStation Portal, if you have to sign an agreement, your device is basically a paperweight.
Then you're also dealing with the worse ergonomics, as well as the fact that you don't have the exact haptics that the PlayStation 5 offers. And personally, some of my favorite games happen to be PlayStation single-player story-driven narrative games.
Now remember earlier in the video where I brought this up, so earlier he said he didn't like to play on his phone because he might get a call or something that interrupts him while he's at the hospital. But if you're playing single-player story-driven games, then you can easily just pause those games, accept the call, and then go back to whatever you were doing on that game. Now, if these were multiplayer games or something like that, I'd be able to understand his point, but that just simply isn't the case. As you can see, he admits it right here himself.
And that is exactly what the Portal unlocks for me to do. I have a PlayStation that sits unused a lot of the time simply because it is connected to the TV that I share with other members of my household.
Now, I don't know about y'all, but when I was a kid, when I was younger, I had like the GameCube and the Wii and stuff like that, and I had multiple TVs in my house because the thing is, I understood that, you know, my parents are gonna want to watch TV and stuff like that sometimes. So what I would do is I'd connect my gaming consoles to one TV, and the other TV would be used to like watch movies and stuff with the family. Now, if I were in this case where I only had one TV and I never ever got to use it because everyone in the family is using it, I'd probably sell it for something like a Steam Deck, to be honest. Maybe I'd buy an ROG Ally, maybe I'd buy a Nintendo Switch or a Nintendo Switch Lite if I really never planned on using it on the TV.
And that is why this is the Dad Station 5. I will always, as a father and as a husband, defer to everybody else in my house getting to do what they want with the television or me being around with them. However, this unlocks the ability for me to still do that and also play the games that I want in the way that I can enjoy it the best.
But this problem could also be solved by just getting another TV and putting it next to the main TV so that you can spend time with your kids while they're all in the living room and play your favorite game at the same time. Not only can you play the games at the same time as everyone else in your living room watches TV, but you don't have to worry about input lag or internet connection or anything like that.
Having this in the shape of a DualSense controller, giving me both the adaptive triggers, all of the haptic rumble, everything that the PlayStation 5 brought technologically to the controller, while also being able to have a seamless setup to connect to my PlayStation both here at my house, in my truck, or even at the hospital, makes it worth the price for me because none of these other handhelds can actually achieve what the PS Portal does. And
once again, don't quote me on this, but can't you just use your Steam Deck and use remote play and just connect to your PlayStation at home and play it like that? You never have to worry about whether or not the public Wi-Fi is going to work or not. And in those times where you don't have an internet connection, you can still access tons of games that you own.
And there are also plenty of other things that Sony can do in the future with the Portal. This seems to be a step in their march towards things like cloud gaming.
Now, I don't know about y'all, but cloud gaming to me, no matter what I use it on, just simply is not an enjoyable experience. Having my game quality be dependent on an internet connection just is not something I'm interested in. Maybe this will be like a really cool thing 20 years from now, but just at the time, nah, it's not for me, man. I'll take a device that can play any game I own at anywhere at any time over a cloud gaming device any day of the week.
The Portal knocks it out of the park in my book. It is everything that I could have possibly wanted. The price point is just low enough that it made sense for me to pick up for myself as well as for my team members here in the office because they also can benefit from being able to use their PlayStation that's in the attic, but they want to be in their living room, which is 3 floors down because Pittsburgh homes are built different sometimes. I think Sony's right. This is gonna let me play a lot more PlayStation games than I ever have before.
Alright, and that pretty much brings us to the end of the video. Obviously don't go hate on this guy, he's just somebody's dad at the end of the day, and I don't think they deserve to get like bombarded over this. Now, I wanted to like the PlayStation Portal. When I first heard about it, it immediately reminded me of one of the best handheld devices of all time, the PSP. But when 20 years ago we had a device that could play games anywhere at any time, didn't require internet, and was absolutely amazing, and then you release a device that's like a tenth as good 20 years later, it's hard to be positive about it. And that's why I made this video. Alright, that's pretty much all I have to say. Peace out.